INEC schedules conduct of 12 states and National Assembly by-elections for the 31st of October.
COVID-19 cases still on the rise. Nigeria on a caseload of more than 47,000.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the WAEC and NECO examinations for 2020.
All right, now, many people will probably find it difficult to disprove Herbert Hoover's saying that the advancement of knowledge must be translated into increasing health and education for children and the youth.
It is therefore no surprise that in response to the pandemic, there is a variety of actions being taken by different countries like France, Scotland, Norway, and South Korea in relation to the examinations.
Well, Kiran, just to say that, if you remember, Herbert Hoover was the American 31st president, and he also was the president that drove the Depression. If you recall, the Great Depression in the 19th century, and his stance on capitalism, allowing capitalism to drive, the system, cost him his election in 1932 that he lost to Franklin Roosevelt. So I would rather say, rather than say knowledge, must be translated into increasing education, I would add that education, should translate into knowledge, and the path, of course, to acquiring the knowledge must not impede on the health of the seeker, and of course that will crystallize into the core of our conversation this morning, and in underscoring the importance of a sound and balanced education in a healthy environment and amidst a ravaging pandemic that has become very, very imperative.
Yes, radical situations, require a radical response and solution. And the pandemic situation the world finds itself now requires some constructive engagement to see how we can get around it and ensure that education continues to flourish, because without that, the world will eventually come to a stop. So, after nearly 5 months, the schools are open for business once again, and the education managers have flung their gates wide for exiting students to sit for the WAEC and NECO examinations.
All right, before then, the Ministry of Education, that was after due consideration with key players across the country, released a 52-page document outlining social distancing, attendance, hygiene, cleaning, and non-pharmaceutical interventions as guidelines.
All right, now, but just like a thick cloud, some uncertainties still loom, and mixed reactions continue to throw this step, with many expressing misgivings over possible new infections among students.
All right, it's just a few days away to the commencement of the West African Examination Council's exam. That's despite the concerns which also has to do concerns raised. And just to say that the exam is also to be conducted in Ghana, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Liberia, while the National Examinations Council, that's NECO, will take off on the 5th of October. Kira.
Well, go ahead. Of course, indeed, the die is cast, and many are still questioning if the two examination bodies who have released the timetable for the 2020 certificate examinations are adequately ready to handle the hundreds of thousands registered students across the Federation. More worrisome is how can the safety of these students be guaranteed amid the pandemic? These and more will form part of our discussion on Good Morning Nigeria today, as we have raised issues on the WAEC and NECO examinations 2020. My name is Kirian Umaya, welcoming to today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, and we'll broadcast live on the network service of the NTA.
And I am Claire Delabab, the Reservoir transmitting, of course, on the network service. And it's right here from our studios in Abuja. In a moment, we shall bring you the morning news and also serve you other complimentary segments in the course of the program. So, if you're ready, let's get started with the news. And Musbah Danwahab is our newscaster this morning. Musbah.
Right, good morning, Claire and Kirian. Let's take the news. A crucial meeting convened by President Muhammadu Buhari with members of the Nigeria Governors Forum on the state of the nation's security has ended with a resolve to collaborate towards bringing to an end within time limits the various challenges of security confronting the nation. The online meeting also decided that field commanders would take adequate measures towards protecting the civil populace as a confidence-building mechanism between the military and the frontline communities. Away from that to electoral matters, as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has scheduled October 31st, 2020 for the conduct of 12 state and national assembly by-elections. A statement by the INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, indicates that the elections are Bayelsa Central Senatorial District, Bayelsa West Senatorial District, Ngazai State Constituency, Borno State, Bayo State Constituency, also in Borno State, Cross River North Senatorial District, Obudu State Constituency in Cross River State, Imo North Senatorial District, Lagos East Senatorial District, Koshofe 2 State Constituency in Lagos State, Plateau South Senatorial District, Bakura State Constituency, Zamfara State, and Ibaji State Constituency in Kogi State. By the harmonized timetable, the Commission will give a notice of election on 17th of August 2020, while political parties will conduct their primaries to nominate candidates between 24th August and 8th September 2020. Submission of forms and personal particulars of candidates will commence on 9th September and close on 13th at 6 p.m. September 2020. From political scene, the chairman of a caretaker and extraordinary National Convention Planning Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Governor Maimala Buni, has approved the appointment of a governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to chair the party's high-level national campaign council for the Ondo governorship election. In a statement by the APC Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Yakini Nabena, the governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, will serve as the deputy chairman and Comrade Mustafa Salihu as secretary of the 104-member APC National Campaign Council. The campaign council will be inaugurated on Saturday, 15th August 2020 at the APC National Secretariat, Abuja. From the judiciary, Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered the Prosecution Counsel, Bala Senga, and the trial of a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Mohammed Adoke to furnish the defense with the particulars of the offense to enable the defense prepare for the case. Justice Ekwo gave the order of a resumed trial of a former Attorney General who is facing charges of money laundering preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Discovered with the first witness that they wanted to call, that they failed, that's the prosecution, the EFCC, they failed to serve on us.
The court has ordered, we will comply in less than 24 hours.
And on to such a time when a scientifically approved treatment regime or vaccine is available, the best approach to preventing COVID-19 remains the non-pharmaceutical interventions that have been outlined. National Coordinator of Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sani Aliyu Stutevez, at an online colloquium on the appropriateness or otherwise of some pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceutical measures and protocols against COVID-19 in Abuja.
And water remains far more effective than using a sanitizer. Why? Because if you use a sanitizer, if you have organic material, the organic material can interact with the alcohol and make it less effective.
We wanted to do the booths for all our states, and it costs a lot of money. And when there are doubts, we need to bring people together.
Now, latest information from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 423 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The new cases recorded from 18 states indicate that Lagos has the highest number of new infections with 117, followed by FCT with 40. Next is Ondo with 35 cases. Rivers State has 28, Osun 24, Benue 21, Abia and Ogun have 19 cases each, while Ebonyi has 18. Others are Delta and Kwara State with 17 cases each, while Kaduna has 15, Anambra 14, Ekiti 11, Kano 9, Imo 6, Gombe 4, while Oyo has 3 new cases. Nigeria has now 47,290 confirmed cases, out of which 33,609 have been successfully treated and discharged, while 956 unfortunately died of the virus. And that's the morning news on Good Morning Nigeria. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll bring you more news in the course of the day. The program continues shortly with Claire and Kyrian after this break.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're glad to have you up to this moment. At this point, we are going to be bringing you our newspaper review for today.
Right, without much ado, Bayo Atrebi is with us here in the studio. Bayo, good morning. Welcome to another new day.
Thank you. Good morning, Kyria.
Good morning, good to see you again today.
Good to see you too.
All right, let's go straight to the review of the newspaper. And Claire, let's begin with the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate, have some headlines there. COVID-19, Russia to mass-produce vaccine. That's on page 25. That's another very controversial issue that came up just yesterday. Russia to mass-produce vaccine. All right. Ohaneze, IPOP disagree on Igbo president. The story is on page 5. Actually, both stories on page 25. Groups kick against killings. Now, INEC to hold all by-elections on October 31st. Polls in Borno, Kogi, and others. That's on page 6. Now, below the nameplate, to have a Ondo election 2020, that's a kicker. Monarch childs Obaseki for assembly invasion. Governor's performance will earn him re-election. Sanwo-Olu leads Akeredolu campaign council. Court stops SLDO lawmakers suspension. All that on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Don't scrap secured anchorage area, say maritime operators. It's a story on page 8. And below the photo story, Buhari move weapons, jets coming for insurgency fight. More weapons, jets coming for insurgency. Once again, Buhari, that's the kicker. More weapons, jets coming for insurgency fight. That's good news there. And President orders military to chase Boko Haram to their haven. And of course, CBN pegs equity funding for agricultural schemes at 2 billion. All that on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. Claire.
Okay, let's put our attention to the Daily Trust. And it says again on security matters, governors to Buhari, give us bailout for security. Comes with 2 riders there. Requests not justifiable. That's coming from the CSOs. And President queries security chiefs over terrorist weapons. Right there, that's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Trust. And, okay, let me just go a little below the nameplate again. Stamp duty, House of Reps moves to reconcile FIRS and NIPOS. You can read up the details of that on page 17. 2023, Ohaneze IPOB strategize for Igbo presidency. Details of that on page 30. And over 5 million apply for 400,000 NPAR jobs. It's on page 6. And there's a picture story, a very disturbing one at that. 3 co-members, 19 undergraduates, and 10 others arrested by the EFCC Commission, Ibadan Zonal Office, for alleged internet fraud at Ogbomoso, that's in Oyo State, yesterday. And you can see all of them and complying with the physical distancing protocol of COVID-19. Now, how unstable forex rates raised commodities prices, and Nigerians decry falling purchasing power, and CBN moves to unify exchange rates. Okay, the trending stories at the bottom of the paper. U.S. sends 200 ventilators to Nigeria. It's on page 6. And COVID-19, Sokoto herbalists send cure sample to NAFDAC. Details of that on page 28. And INEC to conduct 12 by-elections October 31, page 30. Bayo, let's start with security, shall we?
Security, well, security is very dominant. Maybe why don't we leave security? Because the editorial itself is about security. So we will comment about. Let's start with the development from Russia. President Vladimir Putin says that his daughter has partaken in the latest development, the vaccine for coronavirus, and it is working, and the girl is feeling good. The name of the vaccine is Sputnik 5, named after the Russian satellite that was launched in the 1950s. President Putin said that this was developed by a research institute known as Gamaleya, as well as the Ministry of Defense. He says it is tested and it is safe, and indeed they are to begin tests on 2,000 volunteers today. A spokesman from the World Health Organization, Tariq Jasarevic, says that World Health Organization is taking a close look at the vaccine, but it has not given a stamp of approval yet. That, if it's successful, means this is the first positive indication of a coronavirus vaccine. There was one that was indicated by the Oxford researchers. Already, United Kingdom says they have booked for about 19 million doses, but that still in the works. Apparently, we are heading towards a vaccine, and that will go a long way in fighting coronavirus. Meanwhile, that
is if the one coming from Sokoto, you understand, because there's one, Sokoto herbalists find cure for COVID-19. And the writer here says U.S. institutes have requested for sample that's coming from the rep member, and then we also have sent sample sent to NAFDAC for trial. So,
yes. Well, when you send something to NAFDAC, their job is to test to assure that it is not harmful. The efficacy and the cure is left to the Pharmaceutical Institute of Nigeria.
I think the difference here is that the one coming from Sokoto is actually curative.
A cure.
It's curative. It's a cure.
The other one
but
is a
vaccine. Is a preventive. Right. So, and from what we've heard across the globe since yesterday that Putin released that message to the world, not many health workers or medical personnel across the globe, they didn't come to terms with what Putin has said. But what is important here is that the test has passed stages 1 and 2. The last stage is stage 3, which must involve thousands of persons that will be administered to. And if that works out well, then of course that's the last stage of testing vaccines. So that's what I think you said. Putin said it's going to start today.
2000, yes,
it's going to start today.
You see, the world is looking for a cure. We should avoid the West-East rivalry. Most of them from the West are already casting aspersions on it. The world is looking for a cure. Once the World Health Organization certifies that cure, that vaccine, the world has a respite from a pandemic. Coming to talk about our own native one now, if they certify and it is a cure, we have an outlay. Don't forget, Madagascar came with its own supposed cure, COVID organic, apparently was only curing malaria, but was not curing COVID-19. So much so that the cases in Madagascar begin to escalate. So much as we want a cure, the world has to be very careful. And that is the alarm bell that World Health Organization has run.
And again, the politics around it too, we call it a political economy if you like, because there are more than 100 pharmaceutical companies involved in the development of vaccine across the globe. And they have already put in some good sums of money in this research. And everybody is jostling to be the one to come up with something that the world will take on, because of course you know what that means. If it's coming from you, for instance, of course, you have made a lot of money across the globe. So that is the point. There's politics around it, and nobody will accept anything until somebody proves otherwise. And that's what I think Russia is trying to do. But let's not forget that Russia, from the beginning, had made that point that their intention is to get vaccine, and they started so early to do that. And that's why they came up with something now that the world is now, trying to see whether it's efficacious or not.
Well, our status today, yesterday we had 423 new cases in 22 states. Unfortunately, we registered 6 deaths, and so far we have reached 47,290 cases. The death rate is now 956. We're almost getting very close to 1,000.
But we discharged about 33,000.
33,000. But if you look at it, from all projections, scientists had projected that Nigeria by July will reach about 100 to 200,000, and therefore there has been some considerable progress, but we can defeat COVID-19 if we continue to observe the protocols. But if we relax, the danger is it can be heightened. You talked about 200 ventilators donated from the United States. This followed a conversation between President Donald Trump and President Muhammadu Buhari. They have fulfilled that promise now. I'm talking about U.S. The Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, has named Kamala Harris, a senator, a female senator from California. She's an African-American, as a vice presidential running mate. Yeah. And that has set a lot of tongues wagging in the United States of America. Former President Barack Obama has said Biden has nailed this decision. Harris has spent her entire career defending the Constitution and fighting for the foes who need to have this secret. And coming at the era of Black Lives Matters is going to be very impactful in the campaign.
Harris has a very good antecedents politically. She was the first African American to become an Attorney General of California.
Yes.
She has done that job on two occasions, right? And of course, as a senator, the first African American to become a senator from that very part of America. And as you recall, when they had the first debate, that's a democratic debate between Biden and the rest of them, she was the one that really gave Biden rattled Biden. Yes. So this time around, Biden now felt, look, this is a fighter, and this is somebody I can go with. And by the way, she's an African American, Jamaica, and of course India. Is a shared in Asia, Jamaica
nationality. I can see Claire grinning. This affirmative action.
Well, it's not just about the affirmative action. It's also about the stuff she's made of what she has, to offer. Because elections in the U.S. is not beans. I mean, in quotes, it's not it's a big game. It's a big event. But you really want to know what Donald Trump thinks about her. He was speaking this morning. He said he thought she was a poor choice because of her her efforts at the Democratic conventions, yes, and that he was disappointed, So
no, you don't understand Donald Trump. Whatever scares him, he plays it down. That's his system. Whatever scares him, he plays it down.
Anyway.
There was a bomb scare at Opoke Aba Market in Abakaliki. The market is often referred to as Pirikiri Market. This must have been an unexploded device, and when it was sighted, people went helter-skelter. But luckily, there were no injuries, there were no deaths, but the DPO immediately sent for the bomb disposal, and they have taken care of it. Across in Abia State, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu have had to close the Shoe Plaza part of the Ariaria market This was because there was a fire incident there. The fire brigade got in there, and the market traders were angry because they felt that the fire brigade did not come in too early, and a lot of their material got burnt, and they descended on the fire brigade, destroyed the firefighter equipment, and injured many of the firemen. And the governor, very, very angry, has shut up that portion. In fact, he has suspended the market union leaders accordingly.
Let's talk about this, if you would. More weapons, jets coming for insurgency fight. It's also part of our editorial, which says Buhari on security architecture reforms.
Well, you see, the security is a national challenge. And of recent, it has become the talk of the nation because everybody is worried. You recall that just about 2 weeks ago, Thursday, the penultimate week, the governor of Borno State, while trying to inspect Baga to ensure that IDPs return home, was fired at. And since then, the Northeast Governors Forum have met, and they also met with the president. And following this virtual meeting yesterday, it has come to the fore that security has become a matter of challenge for all. And that is why chief executives of states are now asking for bailout to tackle the issues of challenge. But already there are comments in the media indicating that if you put together the security votes that the state governors have all together, it is more than the budget of the military and the police put together.
So, but the point here is, the security votes you mentioned, that's what attracted my attention. When you have security votes as a chief executive of a state, what are you supposed to do with these votes? There's no state police. You don't have any military under your command. So what are these security votes used for? You know, why I'm saying that because yesterday, recall we talked about the issue of equipping the police. Equipping the police, because internal security falls under police, the purview of police, isn't it? That the Boko Haram has, of course, escalated. That is why the military is involved in the first place. So it's all part of what we are discussing about equipping.
Right,
you know.
I think just before we go, there's a picture I'd just like for us to see. No comment really. It's on Daily Trust page 5. Students of Government Day Secondary School, and this is against the background of the social distancing and school resumption. If we can get a picture of that, Barry and Kiran, you'll see what I'm speaking about. These are students, secondary school students, who have just resumed. Yes.
Is that a sitting position? What is the sitting position there? Are they on the floor or something?
No comment.
Well, the picture, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I can hardly make 100 words out of that picture. Apparently, it looks as if they are on a playing ground.
Yes.
And outside.
And gathered.
God help us. This issue of coronavirus. We just have to,
Kiran, I said no comment.
Let's just release. Protocol must be observed.
Let's let you go for today. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you as always. All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Our conversation this morning will be on the WAEC NECO exit examinations. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. And our conversation this morning is on the WAEC and NECO examinations 2020 and COVID-19. And to set the tone for the discussion proper is a background report as put together by Victor Azu.
After months of COVID-19 induced lockdown, which forced the closure of schools to academic activities, the federal government on July 27th announced the resumption of academic activities for transition classes effective August 4th to enable Nigerian students sit for the forthcoming WAEC and NECO examinations. The directive also includes that all COVID-19 related advisory be strictly adhered to minimize the risk of infections. Upon resumption, I visited a couple of schools in the FCT, and here is what I found.
You can see the compound is cleaned. A number of cleaners and gardeners are always at work. The classrooms are ready. Lessons have started earnestly. A few weeks ago, We had a team of evaluators from the Department of Quality Assurance of LCT Education Secretariat who came and inspected the compound, and they certified us compliant.
And the classes have been arranged in such a way that we will take only 25 students in a class. We have 6 arms of JS3, and each of the arms will be divided into 2, because in each classes we have only 51, 52. So once they are divided into 2, we have 26 in a class, and which will be comfortable. The social distancing will be taken, and they will be fully all right to take their classes.
So, as the exams draw ever closer, WAEC in less than a week and NECO later, what is the reality in secondary schools to be used as examination centers? Do the schools have the resources to constantly fumigate their environment while the examinations last, especially the private schools? How do they plan to maintain social distancing in the seating arrangements? Finally, how will the whole situation affect the students' preparations and eventual outcome of the examinations? These are some of the issues that our already seated guests will attempt to dissect.
All right, thank you, Victor. Now joining us via Zoom from Lagos is the Head National Office, West Africa Examination Council, Mr. Patrick Arahan. Mr. Arahan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. It's a pleasure.
And also from our Mina studio, we have Professor Godswill Obioma. He is the Registrar, Chief Executive Officer, National Examination Council, NECO. Professor Obioma, good to see you.
Good to see you, Claire, once more. Good morning, viewers.
Yes, and with us here in the Abuja studio is Oke Udemba. Oke Udemba is the PTA Chairman, Federal Government Boys College, Apo, Abuja here. It's a pleasure to have you on our show this morning.
Good morning.
All right, Claire.
Yeah. Yes, you get on.
The first shot.
You go ahead.
Yeah, we actually supposed to have the Director of Basic and Secondary Education, Federal Minister of Education. We hope that she's going to make it and be part of this program. So, gentlemen, it's a pleasure once more to have you on the show. The situation on ground now is quite precarious. So, we would like to find out exactly from the National Office of African Examination Council, Patrick Arahan, are we talking? How many students are we talking about in terms of registration? Those who are actually registered to take this year's WAEC. I ask this question because we have to, this number of people have to be managed with respect to the COVID-19 protocol. How many students are we expecting to write this year's WAEC?
Thank you, Kieran. For the WAS for School Candidates 2020, we are having a total of 1,549,731 candidates that will be writing the examination at 19,129 schools. That is the position.
And with this number that you have mentioned, how prepared is WAEC in terms of conducting the examination, knowing full well that in the over 19,000 schools that you mentioned, are there some kind of preparedness put in place, or rather, would I say, some logistics put in place in those schools to ensure that when the time comes for this examination, that the COVID-19 protocol will be observed and that we'll have the facilities to accommodate all these students across the over 19,000 schools that you mentioned?
Thank you. Thanks to the Minister, Honorable Minister of Education, that has made it possible for schools to resume. And we all know that only the exit classes are in school now. Only the exit class students are in school. So that makes a lot of room available for them to sit and write the examination. We expect that all schools will provide adequate facilities for the conduct of the examination. Our own arrangement is to ensure that candidates are well spaced, keeping to the COVID-19 protocol. That is 2 meter spacing. By that, it means we are going to make use of many more supervisors By our estimation, we are going to make use of 2 supervisors per center. You'll find a school having about 200 candidates. They may use about 5-6 classrooms. And that means each supervisor will man about 3 classrooms. And in each classroom, you will have a chief invigilator that will be responsible for that particular class and who will now report to the supervisor. And we are going to have in place, of course, keeping to the COVID-19 protocol, wash hand basin with flowing water, where the candidates and all examination functionaries are expected to wash their hands. You have hand sanitizers, and then everybody is expected to wear their face masks. On our part, we have provided face masks for all our supervisors, for all our staff, all categories of staff. They are expected to be in face masks. And of course, the schools are expected to provide face masks for all their candidates and all the invigilators. We are responsible for the supervisors. Schools are responsible for the invigilators. So, and we expect that anybody coming to the exam hall must be checked. The infrared thermometer be used to take the temperature of the candidate, or the supervisor, or the invigilator, or the inspector, as the case may be. So all these are in place, and we want to believe that it's a collaborative effort. It's a collective responsibility. The government, the schools, the WAEC, and all concerned, all hands must be on deck. That's why we have appealed to all and sundry to please cooperate with WAEC to ensure that all these measures, all these controls are observed at all the centers. We don't want any situation whereby there will be any casualty. We have done our best and we are leaving the rest to God.
Right, Mr. Rehat, thank you. Thank you for your opening contributions. We'll just put you on hold to adjust your connection, your position. But before then, let's get to our studio, where we have Professor Godswill Obioma. Professor Obioma, once again, it's good to see you. But I will start from the very bottom by asking you, what exactly have we as a country and as students lost out? By now, what should be happening is admission processes to admitting students into tertiary institutions ordinarily. WAEC and NECO should have been done by now. What exactly have we lost?
Well, Claire, thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you for inviting me to the program and for making me part of the conversation. Now, going straight to the point, because before I address probably in the course of our conversation the other issues and arrangements that NECO has put in place. As a professional, when the first index case was reported in Lagos sometime in March, it led to gradual lockdown. It led to the situation affected various sectors of the economy, including education. And you also recall that schools were closed by government to safeguard the students and pupils and those that manage education. So in terms of what schools have lost, I think significantly they've lost teaching time, they've lost learning time. They were at home, although various governments made effort and various school proprietors made effort to set up the infrastructure of online learning and teaching, but that may not have gone generically around, probably in deprived areas. And so what one can say is that students have lost out in terms of preparation for exams if they were in school. Students have lost out in terms of early entry into tertiary institutions under the normal schedule. I think also that students have lost out in terms of interaction with their teachers, interaction with their learning materials under normal conditions because they have been at home. So this might be a summary of what one can conceptualize as what students have lost out in the context of getting admission into junior secondary schools, getting admission into tertiary institutions, and of course getting promoted admissions into senior secondary schools, Claire.
Thank you, Prof. Of course, we will be looking at the modalities or the what the two bodies, that's WAEC and NECO, the plans that you have put in place, to conduct these examinations within the scenario of COVID-19. But I just like to bring in the PTA chairman here. That's Mr. Oke Udemba, who is the PTA chairman of one of the unity colleges in the country here in Abuja. Mr. Udemba, you listened to Prof. He talked about lost in teaching time, lost in learning time, and the fact that the online teaching was not generically, I'm using his words now, did not generically go round. So within the time frame given for lessons before these examinations, do you think there'll be makeup? Will students be able to make up as a parent?
The timing is so short that there is no how within this 1 week or 2 weeks given to the resumption for the students to be able to meet up what they are lost in 3 months. That is the session. There's no how 7 days can cover it up. So it's not going to be possible. We just believe God for those children. And if you are coming out to say, and I know that the WAEC is not only to Nigeria, and the second side is not only to Nigeria too. So my own issue there now is that the exam should go on, but WAEC should also be flexible in making sure, because I see it as a mass failure is going to come up.
Is that the concern of the parents?
Yeah, that's the concern of parents. There's going to be a mass failure. We are a faith-believing nation. We believe that the children will do well, but with what is practical, what we're seeing on ground, there's no how you can cover up what you lost in 3 months per session in 7 days. There's no how. So that's our concern.
That's you want to cover up what should have been covered
in a session.
3 months in 7 days.
In 7 days.
Yeah, you see, this is a very critical situation in our academic spheres, because the possibility of covering what you ought to have covered in 3 months in 7 weeks, in 7 days is not even attainable, right, anywhere. And we're talking about examination, external examination, that will determine who enters a university or not, is it not? Because
the future.
After it's completely the beginning of the future of each of the students that are going to be involved in this examination. If you don't get your WAEC, then you have to go back again to school. You can't step up again your academic pursuit unless you get to WAEC. So it's very, very dicey here. I want to bring in Patrick Arehan once more. Now, you have told us that the exams will take place in over 19,000 schools. And I'm concerned about schools in the rural areas, schools in the hinterland, where I believe we even have more students than the ones we have in the urban areas. Now, what are the plans of WAEC to ensure that such schools are identified, and of course they have some specific, or should I say, address some peculiarities of such schools with respect to this arrangement? One, we talk about COVID-19 protocol. Two, we talk about facilities, and of course we talk about invigilators. So how are we going to address this? Knowing full well that the situation we find ourselves today, basically because of the COVID-19, is very precarious, and for your exam to go through smoothly in those areas, those parts of the country, then you must have a stepped-up action. As the case may be.
Hello?
I can hear you. Mr. Aran, I want to find out whether you got my question. Can you hear us from the studio here?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. I just want to find out whether you can hear me. If you can hear me, I can just reframe the question that I asked you earlier on. But if you cannot hear us, then you confirm that, then we'll take the next step. Claire,
Okay, I think
we have we have lost that contact. And
no, we actually didn't. I think he probably would need to adjust his the audio, maybe boost the audio of whatever facility he's using. Ms. Arena, if you can hear us, Kieran is asking what arrangement you have WAEC has put in place with regards to schools that are located within the rural areas. Have they been adequately configured within the parameters of COVID-19?
Yeah, once again, I say it is a collective responsibility. The Ministry of Education at both the federal and state level, the various state ministries of education, they are expected to inspect or monitor all schools to see what is going on. We would expect that this has been done. The Federal Ministry of Education, for example, I'm very much aware of that. They went around all their schools to ensure that all necessary things are being put in place to ensure the successful conduct of the examination. And I also know about 1 or 2 states that have done the same thing, but I want to believe that all the states have done that. On our part, we have deployed our staff to the various custodian centers, that is the temporary WAEC offices in all the local governments, in fact in all the wards, and they are expected to go to all the schools to ensure that everything is in place. We are in touch with the principals of schools. We have briefed the supervisors, we have briefed the school principals virtually by sending video clips to them, audio visual, and we have told them what they are expected to do. We believe that they have done it because everybody is responsible, and it's a global health emergency, not even a national one. So it is expected that everybody will do the needful for the benefit of our candidates. Want a situation whereby it will be spiked. So we are doing everything possible on our own to ensure that everything is under control. So answering your question, we have done our best. We have reached out and we have ensured that the necessary things have been put in place. So by the 17th of August, that will be next Monday, we will be able to visit all schools. It will interest you to know that we cover all schools, even the remotest areas. We don't use middlemen. We go there on our own. So we make sure that we visit every school, and whatever the situation is, we will be able to join. And I want to assure you that on our part, nothing is lacking.
All right, thank you.
I wouldn't know whether NACO, will be riding on the arrangements made by WAEC to organize its own examination.
No, I don't think so, Kingsley. I think each exam body has, their own specific.
My name is Kieran.
Kieran, I beg your pardon.
Right. So
you don't blame me for that.
I know. So
I'm sorry.
No. So let me get back to Gospel Obioma, Registrar, Chief Executive Officer of the National Examination Council. Please permit me to ask you this question. Let us know the specific arrangements made by NACO for its own examination as a different body. I was actually trying to say whether you're going to ride on what has been put in place by WAEC and so on, because when you talk about logistics, they are the same when you talk about the examination. Let us know specifically what NACO has been able to do to organize and ensure that the NACO exams will go hitch-free this 2020.
Thank you very much. I'm going to answer their question directly and specifically. But before I do that, let me reiterate what government has already announced as schedule of exams. You recall that NACO has 3 statutory examinations to conduct. The basic education certificate exam for junior secondary school exit classes, which will commence on the 24th of August, Monday, and terminate on the 7th of September. But we've compressed that to terminate on the 4th of September for efficiency and effectiveness and to save costs. The senior secondary school certificate examinations, which are for internal students, will start on the 5th of October, Monday, and terminate on Wednesday, 18th of November. And of course, the national common entrance examinations for those that are capable and willing to proceed to junior secondary school classes in federal unity colleges anyway has been arranged to take place on Saturday, 17th of October, Kirian. Then we have what we call the receipt for basic in certain strategic subjects of math and English, as the case may be, that were fixed to take place on Wednesday 11th and Thursday 12th November 2020. Now, having said that, just yesterday, we organized a press conference where we invited members of the media, including NTA, of course, to showcase and launch various instrumentations, various strategies that NECO has put in place. And I would like to show one. This is what we've developed, which can also be downloaded in the portal of NECO, www.neco.gov.ng. What I have in hand, Kirian and Nigerians, is a National Examination Council of Nigeria manual on guidelines for preparation of schools for conduct of public examinations in the context of COVID. NECO has done that to improve credibility, to improve acceptability, and of course for schools to be in compliance with the COVID-19 protocol. And these guidelines cover 7 clienteles. First, the proprietors of schools, both public and private, and of course the school managers, the school principals and school day teachers. Again, for parents and guardians, and for their wards that are candidates. Again, for our supervisors and invigilators and monitors. And the last but not the least, for security officials that will be helping us to secure the exams in terms of making it worthwhile. In this manual, we have also made it clientele specific. In other words, what are the expected roles and responsibilities of various people that will partake in other exam supervision, exam management as the case may be, including who will provide the infrared thermometers, who will provide wash hand basins, who will provide water, for instance, running water and all of that, who will provide nose masks, and all of that in terms of ensuring that the examination house obey the COVID-19 social distancing and physical distancing protocols. We launched this for Nigerians and it's in our portal. And so it's easily downloadable and printable for Nigerians. And I would like to say this is what we have. Again, we have also done something for monitoring officers. Our monitoring officers are internal staff of NECO and some external professionals that will enable us monitor the exams in terms of keeping to protocols, monitor the exams in terms of keeping to the minimum standards that NECO has set for the examinations, especially within the COVID era. And what I have here for Nigerians also is that manual. This manual addresses monitoring officers at various levels has been categorized as overseer monitors, as roving monitors, as state monitors, as master monitors, as the case may be. Roving monitors are those that rove around the country, people like myself, the governing board, and officials of the ministry. Of course, master monitors are those that rove around geopolitical zones of their jurisdiction. And state monitors are those that are, in fact, rove around the schools to ensure that all the standards and protocols that have been put in place, especially within the context of COVID-19, are being obeyed. So we have developed this to ensure that our exams are done within the prescribed minimum conditions for COVID. Besides that also, not just engaging monitors, we've also developed instrumentation that show indicators of what the monitor exactly is going to do. Whether he's going to go to school, whether he's going to go to examination halls, whether he's going to look at school premises and so on. For each monitor, supposed to return some data for analysis and for value judgments. And I would like to show Nigerians this. We've also made our timetables public in the last 1 week. And so if you go into our manual, if you go into our portal, www.neco.gov.ng, if you download this, it comes also with the manuals. So people will be aware in advance, proactively, of what they're expected to do. Beginning from today, we have sent these manuals to all our state offices for dissemination to school principals, to school managers, and to teachers' unions, because we run an open system. And so this is what we've done. And particularly, part of what we are providing to do is to train people, Kerian. It's not just enough to develop instrumentations and all the prerequisites required for conduct of exams, but you must also build the capacity of people. So beginning from next week, we are running an orientation program at the state level, either physically in terms of number or using the virtual arrangements to do that, for monitors, for invigilators, for supervisors, and so on, and for all of the people that we've engaged to assist us to conduct the exams. So this is what we've done. And so I will enjoin Nigerians, because you see, social media has helped us to compress our responsibility with people. So even if you're not a school principal, but as long as you're a stakeholder, if you go into the NOCO portal, www.neco.gov.ng, you'll avail yourself with these instrumentations. And so we hit the ground running next week, Arian, to ensure that the exams are credible, to ensure that the exams are, that NECO is visible in terms of conducting credible and quality exams. Thank you.
All right, Prof. Thank you, and I'm really, I must say, we are impressed with the details of your preparation. But let us even look at, how the exams will be conducted within the guidelines provided by, the PTF and of course the Ministry of Education. Now, can you give us a sense of what you have in your manual? You have told us that they are key players specific, that's stakeholder specific. For parents, for instance, for students, for instance, what is expected of them, from your manual? Can you give us a sense of what we should be expecting as the exams are conducted?
Do that in a moment, Claire. I'll give you one or two highlights of what you expected from public and private school proprietors. For instance, we expect that public and private school proprietors, including of course institutional proprietors like governments, should organize special orientation for school teachers and other relevant officials involved in school administration on safety and hygiene. These expectations and roles and responsibilities of school proprietors, we expect them also to establish school COVID-19 referral system, including protocols and procedures to follow if candidates, teachers, administrators, and education personnel that may present signs of COVID while in school. We also expect them to regularly contact and collaborate with health authorities on school safety. Regarding the roles of school principals and managers, we expect that they will have disinfected and fumigated the entire school system as agreed jointly among themselves and the Federal Ministry of Education authorities. And this should be done a week before the commencement for the purpose of public exams. They will have done that for the purpose of commencement of exit classes in terms of coming back to school. But for us, for examination too, we will expect them to have done this a week to the commencement of exams. I'll give you an example, Claire. The basic exams will commence on Monday, 24th August. We expect that at least by the 17th of August, that these schools will have been properly fumigated for the purpose of our exams. We also expect them to put in place temporary isolation centers. You regard that if people present themselves with the signs and symptoms associated with COVID-19, there should be some kind of isolation for them. So instead of leaving them to mingle with other students and probably infecting them through community arrangements, the school ought to have a transit isolation center within the school context for these people. We also expect them to provide water point soaps at the school gate at the entrance before people come in. we also expect, and before they get into the examination halls, we expect them to provide infrared thermometers for checking the temperatures of students, examination officials, their teachers, and so on before the exam commences. For the parents and guardians, we expect them to sensitize their children and wards in terms of the minimum protocol designed and prescribed for COVID-19. We expect them also to educate their wards, raise more awareness on the importance of observing these protocols, especially not just while in school, but also while at home for those out-of-station students. And there are about 15 of those indicators. For exam candidates, I'm talking about students that will sit the exam, we expect them to arrive punctually at the exam centers at least 1 hour before the commencement of exams for these minimum checks. We expect them to wash their hands with soap and running water using hand sanitizers that have been provided by the school authorities. We expect that they avoid handshaking, hugging, indiscriminate face and surface touching. We expect them to maintain social and physical distancing in terms of the minimum prescriptions in compliance with COVID-19. Then for examination supervisors and invigilators, we expect them to report at the custodian point at least an hour to the examination to enable the custodian officer admit them in batches, because you see, we want to avoid crowd. So admit them, the supervisors and invigilators, in batches at the custodian points in order to collect their materials. We expect them to avoid physical contact while collecting and submitting sensitive materials. And you recall that COVID, you can take it from surfaces. So we expect them that as they handle these exam materials, they will also regularly clean up their hands and wash their hands and so on, which have been made available. We expect them to be vigilant to spot take any sick students, especially those showing or presenting signs of COVID-19. For the conduct of the exam monitors, we expect them to regularly wear their nose masks, and of course the wearing of nose masks is taken for granted by everybody that is involved in exam administration or sitting for exams. We expect them to wash their hands. We expect that the examination halls is where it is used with many candidates involved in the exam, viewing the hall or candidates from raised platform. We don't expect them to move around mingling with the candidates, so we expect them on raised platforms to view, to monitor, and use the indicators to make their necessary value judgment results. And then last but not the least, for the conduct, a code of conduct for security agents, we expect them to wear their face masks as orders. We expect them to wash their hands as orders. We expect them also to avoid aiding and abetting in malpractice. We expect them to report any verifiable incidents that may lead to COVID-19 presentation. And of course, we expect them to keep personal records of health-related issues witnessed during the examination. So these are highlights of these detailed points or detailed guidelines in this manual. And of course, Claire, all that we've said, we'll use this to give orientation, either in small groups or by virtual, to those that are connected, especially our invigilators, our supervisors, and our monitors. So these are the things we are put in place to be able to ensure that exams go on smoothly, exams go on seamlessly, and that, of course, all of us obey the COVID-19 protocols. Thank you, Claire.
All right, Gospel Obioma, Registrar and Chief is Professor Gospel Obioma. We would like to appreciate this elaborate explanation that you've made. And by now, every student who is going to take a NECO exam should understand that NECO is adequately prepared, although there are some other areas that we need to also ask questions concerning your preparations, but that will be much later. For now, let's get back to Patrick Araham of the National Office for African Examination. Sir, please, you listened to Professor Obioma read out a number of detailed plans that they have put in place to conduct a NECO examination. And I also understand that more number of students, well, maybe in my days, normally take WAEC, more than NECO. And we would like to hear from you such detailed analysis of what WAEC has been able to do. I understand from what you said earlier on that you work hand in hand with the Federal Ministry of Education and that of their counterparts at the subnational level. But we may like to understand or know more about what has been put in place for this WAEC examination. If you have the details, let us share that with you. This also enables students who have registered to take WAEC to understand what WAEC is doing to, first of all, protect them, conduct examination, and ensure that the PTF protocol on COVID-19 is observed.
Thank you, Kieran. To talk about what we have put in place for the conduct of this examination actually will take a whole day. But for the benefit of this program, I will just say that we have done all that is required to make sure that the examination is conducted successfully. As I said earlier, we have appointed the supervisors that will conduct the examination, and we have briefed them. By briefing, we mean letting them know the do's and the don'ts, how to do the job, how to avoid exam malpractice, and what have you. And keeping to protocol, COVID-19 protocol, we have divided them into groups so that there will be no congregation of too many people at one center. So what we have done is to assign supervisors to what we call custodian centers, maximum of 20 to 27 supervisors per custodian center. And they are expected to report at the custodian center because of this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, it used to be 1 hour before time, but they are now expected to be there 2 hours before time so that they can observe all the protocols, come in, wash their hands. We use what we call the supervisor's photo album. Each supervisor supplies his or her passport photograph. We make an album to use to identify you. Of course, you come with your ID card. In addition to the letter we use to appoint you, we identify you properly. Then you run through the protocol, you wash your hand, you sanitize your hand. Then we issue you the necessary materials. There's what we call the silver pens. It's a machine we use to conduct exam. We book you. That is, you have reported for the exam. You clock in and then you clock out. We issue you the materials. You put them in the bag. You lock up and you go straight to your exam center. We would expect that before the supervisor arrives, the school principal, using his staff, must have arranged the classrooms and the halls to agree with this 2 meter spacing of a team. So when the supervisor comes in, he checks in the candidates. He will make sure that the candidates are 2 meters apart, even when checking them in, so that there will be no physical contact. And we want to make sure that we reduce even contact with papers, any material that will be a conveyor for this pandemic. So what we do is that we also use that silver pens to take attendance. You just swipe the card of the candidate, the smart card. We call it candidate smart card. You swipe it, and all the details of the candidates would appear. You just click attendance, and the attendance is taken. That one goes in. After taking attendance, you ensure that the candidates are properly seated. Then you share the question booklets. We call them question booklets now because you supply the answers in the same booklet that contains the question papers. And we have advised our supervisors that when collecting scripts, they should be extra careful. In fact, what we have told our staff is that if it is possible, when they are collecting scripts, they should wear hand gloves. But in the event of not wearing hand gloves, immediately after collecting the scripts, they should wash their hands and sanitize their hands. The principals are expected to be at the center throughout the duration of the examination. Under normal circumstances, even without COVID-19, the principals are supposed to be available. But because of the peculiarities of this situation, it is more than necessary that principals are always around. Of course, every school has what we call the COVID-19 monitoring team. That team is supposed to be around at all times to ensure the proper behavior of the candidates, that they don't mingle together, they don't shake hands, they don't embrace. You just keep to yourself. So that is why that team is there, and that team will be there regularly. under the supervision of the principal or an appointed teacher to do that on behalf of the principal. But the presence of the principal is very, very important because usually the candidates or the students, they will fear and respect the principal. So everything will be in place. And we expect the invigilators to behave in the national interest because this is not a school examination. The supervisors are nominated by the various ministries of education, and then we appoint them. So they are responsible to the State Ministry of Education. Because if anyone commits any offense, we should be able to report that person to the ministry for necessary disciplinary action. But if we just went ahead to appoint them on our own, there will be nobody to report to. So they are to ensure that this person is there. They are to ensure that candidates don't mingle together. They are to ensure that you do what you are supposed to do within the examination hall. Of course, we have developed all our briefing material and we have sent them to the schools, to all the supervisors and to all our offices. We have briefing materials, we call them briefing materials, what contains the do's and don'ts, how to conduct the examination, what to do, what not to do. The invigilators have their own, the supervisors have their own, principals have their own, even our staff, they have their own. So at every point in time, everybody knows what to do. And as I said earlier at the beginning of this program, we make sure that all the protocols are observed. By the time you are walking into a school, which is a center for the conduct of this examination, you must be checked to ensure that your temperature is okay before you go into the examination hall. And of course, you have to wash your hands. It is the responsibility of the various schools to provide hand washing materials by providing running water bucket, soap. You wash your hands and then you sanitize before going into the examination hall. Even if you are a white staff, you are a Ministry of Education official, these are inspectors. We call the white staff, the Ministry of Education officials, inspectors. And of course, in our own case, we are also involving members of the governing board of WAEC. These are very responsible Nigerians who have paid their dues in the field of education. So they would also help us to go around to monitor strict compliance with COVID-19 protocol, apart from checking examination malpractice. We have also appealed. I did a letter to the Honorable Minister of Education, and I had a meeting with the Minister of State Education, appealing that the ministry should please also deploy staff to monitor this examination. And of course, I know that they will do that. Even the Honorable Minister of State himself went out to inspect all the schools with the permanent secretary and the Director of Basic and Secondary Education. I'm a witness to that. So I want to believe that with all these measures put in place, without necessarily going into details, that the examination will be well conducted. And of course, after the conduct of the examination, every supervisor is supposed to return the work scripts to where we call the custodian center. Custodian center simply means a place where supervisors gather to collect the examination materials and to return the work scripts done by the candidates. And each custodian center is manned by a staff. And if the number of supervisors, if there are more than 27, they will make it 2 staff per custodian center. And with the presence of this staff, they will be able to ensure that everybody, without exception, obeys the COVID-19 protocols. We want to believe that God on our side, that we will be home and dry. This is a national assignment. It's a period of global and national health emergency. So all hands must be on deck. So I also want to use this period or this opportunity to call upon all those concerned to join hands with WAEC, even the media. I challenge you to go around during the conduct of the examination. It is not a one-man's business, it's everybody's business. Let's do it together. I always say that once we do it together, we can always succeed together. So I want to assure you and the nation that WAEC is ready to conduct this examination. It's starting on the 17th August and it's ending on the 12th September. That's a period of 4 weeks. And this is inclusive of Saturdays. We decided to shorten it from 9 weeks to 4 weeks based on request to make room for the other examination bodies to also have time to conduct their exam, taking into consideration that these products will be going into tertiary institutions. So time is not on our side. but no thanks to COVID-19 that brought about this situation. So we are trying to manage it from all sides. So we are ready. All the necessary protocols are in place, and I want to believe that God will take over from there. Thank you.
Mr. Arena, you can rest assured that the media would, of course, monitor the examinations. We'll keep an eye on the conduct of the examinations. But one concern, a major concern for parents really, would be the COVID-19 status of all the personnel that you have talked about, from the vigilators to the members of the boarding council, to the supervisors themselves, to the students, because these are people who will go and come in on as long as the examinations last. So are you also going to ensure that these people present a COVID-19 certificate or what? How are you going to ensure that they are COVID-19 free?
Well, as I said earlier, it's a matter of joint responsibility. We can only do our part. We have advised all our staff, and we have put the necessary measures in place. We've written to the appropriate quarters to test our staff to ensure that they are COVID-19 free, like the offshore centers where we have centers outside the country. We make sure that they are armed with the certificate before they go. Conducting exam in Côte d'Ivoire, Benin Republic, and Malabo, we make sure that they go with their certificates. And for the teachers who constitute the supervisors and invigilators, you see, NCDC has always said that it's a matter of personal responsibility. Even the World Health Organization has always said that it's a matter of personal responsibility. It will not be possible for WAEC to gather all these supervisors and invigilators and principals together and say we are doing testing. So it's a matter of personal responsibility. We have advised everybody to be involved in this examination. We don't want you to spread it, and we don't want you to contract it. So it is a double-edged sword. Either you are spreading it or you are contracting it. So in order to free yourself from any infection, you make sure that you are clean. So let us take it as a matter of personal responsibility. It is not enough to say why should ensure that everybody is COVID-19 free. Even NCDC has not been able to make sure that everybody is COVID-19 free. So let's take it as a matter of personal responsibility. And thank you for raising that question, using this medium to tell everybody concerned, know your status. And of course, you also know that even the World Health Organization has said that if you are COVID-19 free today, it doesn't mean you are COVID-19 free tomorrow. So essentially, everything will depend on God. But take it from me, we have done the needful, and we believe that we are good to go.
I want to sincerely believe you that we have to trust God in this circumstance because you may need to be conducting tests every other week for you to determine who is free of COVID-19 from what is playing out globally. We thank you for your explanations, but let's come back here to a parent who is here with us. All have been said. You've listened to both heads of examination bodies and all the plans that I have articulated to ensure that these exams will go seamlessly within this period of COVID-19. But as a parent, what has been running through your mind? Or understand that, look, if you have to have an exam in a particular school, say over 100 students are going to gather, what is the possibility of people not talking to themselves so closely in an examination situation where people have to even do, let us well, we call it rehearsal here, but for students to let's do revision, let's discuss a topic and all of that, which is natural, where you have to perhaps see how you can tackle some questions together. That will help you also when you enter the examination hall. All that are not going to be normal anymore. So what's running through your mind, and what are you feeling for these students who are going to be directly involved in these examinations?
Based on what I have heard from both the NECO and the WAEC, I can see they are ready to conduct the paperwork. They are ready for it's a normal thing they normally do. They know how to do it, to prepare exam. But when it comes on the COVID-19 issue, the safety of the children, from my own observation, when I was listening to the man from NECO, what I was hearing is, I expect them I expect them. I expected them. That's one of the things. The WAEC was saying they should ensure, which means they are only for exam. Any other implementation lies on the hand of the government
and
God
and school authorities.
So that's summary of what I understood from them. So now I could have liked school authority to be here also, so that we hear their role, or one of the principals also to be here also, so that when such issues come, they can be able to tell us some of their preparations. But anyway, I can tell you, because I'm a PTA chairman in APO, Federal Government Boys College, Abuja here. So I can talk about that one, which I know very well.
Tell us, let us know.
I have been from the day they were resuming, I was there. The day of resumption, I was there. In fact, luckily for the school, they even have 2 campuses now. One in Gariki, the other one in Wuye. So JS3 is resuming in Wuye. SS3 is resuming in Gariki. So it reduces the numbers of the pupils in the school now. That's 1. 2, again, the preparations in the school. Last week, I was happy that the Honorable Minister, Minister of State Education, took everybody on our ways and went to the school to see how the environment. And I was so happy when I had it. I was not there, but I had he did that. Before the resumption, I and my colleagues, we went there too to see how the place looks like. And I've been on principal, some of the observations, and principal have been cooperating. Some of the observations we tell him. For example, now I told him it's part of the COVID guideline, take warm water, bath with warm water. Please, can you provide warm water for the students, especially early in the morning? These days are so cold. And he looked at it and he said, look, it's okay, you understand? And today they are enjoying the warm water. So it's something they have already referred.
Part of what, sorry to interject, part of what NECO is, the expectations, for the stakeholders, is to set up what he called established referral, areas. Do your schools have capacity? Do they have the space, to establish a referral area such that when you suspect, someone coming down with any of the symptoms, you quickly refer? I don't know if that's what he meant by, referral system.
Yeah, the joy of the whole thing is that it's only 2 classes now, JS3 and SS3. So I think there's no school now that have no enough space to manage, you understand, where issues comes, where they feel they need to, even as we are talking about spacing and other things. If the school really wants to be serious to take care of this thing, based on what I'm hearing here, that they are referring everything to the school. So the school on their own should know now that, but with my own observation even already, the children also has their own problem.
No, but let us know the school's preparedness now. You are the PTA of one of the colleges, and you've seen that, again, the bulk of the burden, as you rightly observed, have been placed at the doorstep of the school authorities. And you are, as a PTA chairman, you are part of the school authority. So what is the concern? What are the issues? What are the challenges now that the school authorities would have in not providing whatever facility or, complying with whatever protocol that has been, that is expected of them?
Yeah, the school already, in the one I know very well, they are observing it already. They do not allow parents to enter inside the compound. You drop your child and they go in. 2, again, before you enter in, they use the infrared, they use hand sanitizer, they make sure they connect running water all over around the school, where children can wash their hands. The only issue there now is I want them also to add like a kind of social distance among the children. Some of the children are not observing it, like the ones I met, one or two. You see them now, one brought down his face mask and was talking to the other guy. I met him and said, why are you doing, why? What's wrong with you? Are you not, your parents do not tell you what is actually going on? He put it and said, I cannot breathe well. That is exactly what I had from that child. So that means it's a 5-way thing. The school, the parents, WAEC or NECO, the federal government, and the child himself. 5 of them has a role to play to make sure that what we want to achieve in the school, we achieve it. So, and on the area of the children, I will advise more punishment to be introduced to any child who wants to violate it.
What kind of punishment are you talking about?
The child says, I cannot breathe.
Exactly, and you're talking about punishment.
But if you cannot breathe, you can distance also. If you're not, like all of us now, we're not using mask here. You understand? But we see there's the kind of 2-meter distance between us. So if you can't breathe, you will also be advised to stay off from the midst. Not that you can come in the midst of others and you are talking and you say you can't breathe.
In fact, gentlemen, you know, we actually have to believe, quite frankly, that we have to bring God in all of this. We need just to pray hard for it, because all these things we are saying, we're having a conversation on a very precarious issue. You can't ask students not to talk together or do revision and all of that. And like the student told you, I cannot breathe well. That's a health issue, right? So, I mean, we're only praying that things get better, and that the exit students that have just converged in different schools should be able to manage themselves. Parents also need to play a role as a parent to talk to your child, right, on what he or she should do. You know, otherwise, all these things we're saying will be in vain. You know, with respect to ensuring that COVID-19 protocol is adhered to in those schools. This time around, we're going to take a short break. You know, when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. I think we'll have a specific question for NECO man. You know, because of course we received some information concerning registration for this examination, whether people are succeeding or not. But that will be after the break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We are discussing a very, very important topic that affects families across the nation. We'll be back very shortly.
All right, welcome back. We're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're looking at the convenience of having NECO and WAEC exams in the COVID-19 pandemic. And we have our guest, the Chief Executive of NECO. We also have the head of WAEC Nigeria all over. We have the PTA chairman all here with us. And we did extend our invitation to the Minister of Education. And of course, unfortunately, the Director of Basic Education, who was to join us earlier on, could not make it for one reason or the other. So we will go back to Mina, where the CEO of NECO is joining us from. Professor Obioma, first of all, we understand that some students were unable to register for NECO. That's one. And secondly, I'm wondering, in some other parts of the world where COVID-19 also is, you know, wreaking havoc, exams were either cancelled out outrightly, and students here in those, you know, exit classes were judged or promoted via other models. And I know that we run a model where we have continuous assessment, you know, attracting a certain percentage, and exams attracting a percentage. Within this controlled COVID-19 situation, couldn't we have also looked at that model and, you know, for those in GSS 3 that are going to senior class, maybe looked at their continuous assessment work and, you know, based on that, you know, promote those who, you know, are merited? I don't know. That's a question I'd like you to look at for us.
first, let me give some little background on registration. To date, there are 80,110 candidates that have registered for the National Common Entrance. As of yesterday, for the BESE, there are 104,341 candidates. For the senior secondary school examination run by NECO, there are just 169,144. But we expect that, especially for the senior secondary school, which is coming up later in October, early in October, 5th of October precisely, that having set the date of 10th of September as the closing date for registration, and we've made it public for parents and guardians and school authorities that efforts will be made to meet this deadline, because there'll be no extension after the deadline. Talking of deadline, before I address the other professional issue, which I think I'm going to address shortly, for the BESE, we've set a deadline of 21st of August. That's about 7 days to the BESE exam. And as I say, for the senior secondary, we've set a date of 10th of September, and there'll be no extension. I think Nigerians have to understand this. And then for the common entrance, the last date for registration is 10th of October. We are saying this to sensitize parents for the need to register. And recall that NECO runs exams based on purely funds realized from student registration. We don't have subvention from government except for personal emoluments. Now, so having said that, Claire, I will give you an example of contextually how schools, education and assessment are run. Take for instance Finland. There are no exams in Finland. There are no public exams in Finland, and the systems also run. They have institutional arrangements for teaching and learning and for school-based assessment, and their systems run. I also know that in Asia Pacific countries, Singapore, Malaysia and all of that, the essence of examinations are also run in the context of the milieu of the country. But for those of us in Africa and Nigeria, we've established a standard of examining people based on some protocols for exit classes. We have centralized exams for primary schools in some states. We also have centralized exams for federal unity colleges, and also centralized exams run by state-based authorities for secondary education, for exit classes. But for the exit classes for senior secondary in Nigeria, the culture established is for students to take centralized exit exams that will enable them get into their world of work or enable them have the capability of getting into a tertiary institution. And of course, these exit exams are run on certain prescribed protocols. There should be continuous assessment, of course. There should also be the final exams, which NECO and WAEC have earmarked to do. And so it would be ridiculous to compare context across the world. You must take into account the contextual cultural milieu of the society to be able to make comparison. So while other countries might have the parameters and traditions of not even doing exams at all, and it works for them, and other countries have the parameters of even doing online exams, I will tell you, like in some European countries, either Eastern Europe or Western Europe, we've had information that students are doing online exams because infrastructure exists. But in our country, such infrastructure are yet to be put in place. It's not that they are not doable. So we would not begin to say, don't do exams or use continuous assessment, because the policy is that continuous assessment, which are expected to be school-based, constitutes some component of the final certification. And so, besides the COVID-19 pandemic, and now we're in new normal, before we can arrive at such decisions, it has to follow procedures for policy change. So that is what I have to say. But I think what we can do is, how do we manage exams within the context of the new normal? which is COVID-19. It is more critical to ask and answer that question than saying, oh, in Indonesia, in Finland, exams are not done. Oh, in UK, for instance, or some states in America, students are doing online exams. Why can't we do the same thing in Nigeria? That question, I don't think is very appropriate to ask now. But I think the more important question is to ask ourselves, what do we do to contend with the exams under COVID? I'll give you an example, Claire. In fact, I look at COVID-19 as bringing the images of people, the thinking out of the box on how to survive. I'll give you an example. You see, I have a face mask. Look at it. Nigerians are very creative. And this face mask, if I put it on, you can see it matches my dress. You can see it matches my dress. And so what we are trying to do is to configure the cultures and behaviors and practices, not just education, but for our social culture. What can we do to combat the survival under COVID-19? It's more critical to say that.
Yes, Prof. Sorry. I just want to take you back to your statement you made. That question becomes very relevant. The question of, should we, becomes relevant within the context of concerns raised by parents, of their children contracting COVID-19. How are we going to manage? Is it feasible? Is it easy? Is it seamless to be able to control children? You heard the PTA chairman say, look, one of the students in his school complains of the face mask, of wearing the face mask, complains of breathing issues. So is it easy? Is it easy for us to conduct exams in this situation where parents are concerned? Children will not be able to wear the face mask. We cannot ascertain the COVID-19 status of supervisors, invigilators, WAEC officials, NECO officials. That's my issue.
No, that in that studio, Claire, the PTA chairman did say that none of you is wearing a face mask because you're maintaining social distancing and physical distancing protocols. And so what is important is to imbibe in the candidates, right from home, the culture of social distancing, the protocols of social and physical distancing. So if you're not wearing a nose mask, you should be apart in a particular given distance from the next person so you don't contact this virus. Back to the school. What I think is more important and what is critical is how will these protocols be obeyed? Who will monitor it? Who will ensure that they are obeyed, for instance? You wouldn't say students shouldn't talk to themselves, but if they want to speak and talk to themselves and converse in terms of comparing notes, they should wear their face masks. That is the essence of the supervisors in schools, essence of teachers, essence of monitors in school for learning. This is more critical than telling them, don't talk to yourselves. I wouldn't subscribe to don't converse, because in any case, preparation for exams is a community culture of comparing notes, of assisting one another. But in trying to do that in the new normal, Claire, what is critical for me and what should be critical for the school authorities is to ensure that social and physical distancing protocols are maintained. So, and if not, then they should wear their face masks. This is important, and that is why NECO had said what should be the roles of parents and guardians for their wards before they get into school. They should start teaching them. They should start coaching them before they get into school. And when they imbibe that culture, the culture should be sustained in a school environment. Because if somebody says, I cannot breathe, then the person should not immediately. Let me tell you, Claire, I'm a grandfather. I went to see my grandparents, grandchildren, and my little girl of 3 years, I wanted to say, hey, how are you? She ran back from me because the parents have taught her that he shouldn't hug anybody. And I was amazed. So if a girl of 3 could have imbibed the culture of maintaining social and physical distance from a grandfather that is emotionally attached to that person, how much less or more in the school? That is critical for me, Claire, and that is what we should be emphasizing. Not that they shouldn't talk to themselves and say, no, that's not the issue. We should say, if you must talk to yourselves and come closer, you must wear your face mask. If you must not wear your face mask because you're being choked, you should maintain a social distance. This is the new normal. And this new normal affects all our lives. Let me get back to the first question you raised. Let us begin to think critically on how to run schools, how to teach people, how to manage people within the COVID-19 era and beyond. This is the issue. So there are new normal, new practices, new ways of doing things, new thinking, new creative energies for Nigerians, not just for education, but for other sectors of the economy. That is what it ought to be, Claire. For me, the new normal culture should be imbibed in the psyche and internalized by candidates, by parents, by teachers, by school managers, by the entire community, by the entire citizenry. That is more critical for me, Claire.
Thank you, Professor Obioma. Just as I said earlier, this is a very critical situation for not just for Nigeria, but for the entire world. We are talking about organizing examination. These examinations we usually conduct, freely, seamlessly, without all these, connotations. But today we are seeing a different scenario playing out, and I'm wondering how we can manage the situation. When Claire was talking about using class assessment and all of that, it makes sense to me because we grew up to also know that examination is not a true test of knowledge in the first instance. But then that's not to say that we should not conduct examinations. But as you rightly pointed out, Professor Obioma, that we have to do new thinking, new creative ideas on what we can do to cope with the COVID-19 situation. Having said that, let's just return. I wanted to talk to the man from WAEC, but I think we're having issues with the Zoom for now. So let's come back to Abuja here, where we have a parent here with us. So listen to Professor Obioma. Right, and that we are thinking of a way out. I'm all more concerned now about the quality of students we are going to get this time around. After this examination, we are envisaging mass failure on this examination. And I'm not sure that WAEC or NECO is going to compromise standard in terms of questions to be set, understanding full well that these students have lost some school sessions before this examination. What's your take?
Okay, I said earlier that is also the part of the fears parents also has. But the issue there now is the exam should go on because already it's on Monday. We have, just like it says, continuous assessments. Even in these exam classes now, just 3, they have their first term result, they have their second term result before they go into this main exam now, which is unified. And the same thing with WAEC. SS3, they have their first term, second term. So I said earlier there has to be flexibility. Because even in federal government on their own, we don't even want to hear that mass failure.
But what is the input of the PTAs in this whole arrangement? I mean, were you part of the process?
We are not part of the ministry because all these things are guidelines are by the ministry to the principal. What we are there is to make sure that what the ministry gave to the school, we watch the school and make sure they implemented it, and also support the school where they are not doing well.
So what kind of support is PTA rendering now?
The kind of support now, the PTA, as of this moment now, because PTA, federal government doesn't sponsor PTA. PTA only gets their money whenever the school is about to resume. They will pay their small money, which issues like this now we could have said, okay, let's buy hand sanitizer for the school,
yes,
or buy this.
Within the available resources that the PTA has, in what areas are you helping out to ensure that these examinations are conducted, successfully, even while complying with the COVID-19 protocols?
Almost on daily basis, I'm always putting heads with the principal together to make sure, you understand, to ask, like even I was yesterday, 2 days ago, I was with him. just trying to find out what is going on. How are we going to do this? Everything is not about money. Everything is not about what you do. But reasoning and bringing ideas also is a help. As of this moment, PTA, federal government doesn't sponsor them. The only way they do is when they get, and this is exam class, they are, during the second term, they are paid their 2 terms, second term and third term. So it looks like, and such a thing is affecting schools now. We are telling schools, but get this, get this, get this, get this. Schools, as of this moment, to the best of my knowledge, they are not getting school fees. So, and most of them did not envisage this COVID will come. So some of them don't even have money to buy all these things. That's where federal government comes in to help. You shouldn't depend only on what the school. I know the school makes their money whenever they are about to resume. Either they are paid this or they are paid this. But this time, this one, they just invited them, come and take an exam and go. So, especially private schools, I know this is going to be a very big challenge. Federal government also is going to be a big challenge because some of the things we're supposed to do, not all. We may, if we need, like, we need to buy 2 cartons or 3 cartons of face mask. They may not be able. They may say, okay, let's get one. So that's where federal government need to come in also, not only to implement. That's why I said I'm happy that the Minister of State went to the school. And my own take then is, now that you have gone there, you have seen how the place looks like. You understand? It's action, to start action. What and what do you observe? Put it into practice. What are you going to bring to help all these schools survive? Because school is not a session. Whether I like it or don't like it, some of them don't have money to do all these things. They don't have money to do it.
Especially when it comes to providing for the...
To provide them
required.
All those things required. They don't have money.
All right, let's bring in, sorry, Kiran, let's bring in Professor Bioma. We understand we are still trying to connect with the head of WAEC in Lagos. But Professor Bioma, let's look at the impact of this compression of timetable, of exam weeks. For instance, WAEC said the exam period was compressed from 9 weeks to 4 weeks. What might be the psychological impact on the students who will be taking these exams, and invariably, will it affect the quality of results that we may eventually, come out?
Claire, probably I wouldn't know what you want me to answer in that case because I'm not WAEC, but I can answer professionally. As a professional in the education sector. For NECO, the exams will span from 5th of October to November 18th. So we didn't see any compression there. We made allowance for the normal exams within the COVID-19 protocols and so on. For the basic exams, it will span from 24th of August to 7th of September. We only deleted 3 days because that will not significantly affect the compression. But if you ask me a question, Professor, if there's a compression of examination timetable, what impact will it have on the candidates? I could provide an answer as a professional. It depends on the level of compression. It depends on the level of scheduling. It depends on how the exams have been spanned out. It depends on the periods of exams from day to day, from hour to hour. Compression for me does not mean that a 1-hour paper will now be 30 minutes. That's not the issue. I'm not too sure that is what compression means. The compression may mean that if there were 3 days under the normal conditions in which students don't take exams, because of the situations we find ourselves, some of those 3 days have been used up. That is what I mean by that is what I understand and perceive as compression. And so I don't see much impact on the outcome of assessment. I don't see it at all. Unless it is such that it's going to affect the writing of exams. Because I'm not part of that arrangement.
Professor Bioma, thank you so much. really spoken so well today. In terms of compression or no compression, that what we are thinking of is the fact that students have lost sessions in school, and that's going to affect this examination. I, for one, am not expecting to have a very good result, both NECO and WAEC. After this, all this we're talking about, students have been, thoroughly devastated by this, not going to school, and they are going to write external examinations. I'm not sure we're going to expect good results from both NECO and WAEC. We'll just pray for those students to do their best. And I hope that, I know you're not going to compromise standards, but we'll have to know that something like COVID-19 happened and is affecting our educational sector very seriously. At this point, let's take some tweets that people have been contributing to this conversation. We can have time to go through the tweets we have received this morning. First, Mr. Kimbo says, now that schools have reopened for students to take their WAEC and NECO exams, keeping the students and staff safe to minimize the spread of COVID-19 must be the utmost priority for our government at all levels.
And Chris Simeon, every cloud has a silver lining. Despite the delay and drawback COVID-19 has caused in academic calendar, the students can still perform well in their exams if they remain focused and work harder.
There's no doubt, that's from Mutana Farouk, no doubt that the emergence of COVID-19, which led to the alteration of the WAEC, NECO, and other examinations timetables, may have caused a psychological problem to the students. Many of the students have stayed at home for long without engaging in learning activities.
Ibrahim Modu, observing all protocols, especially keeping social distancing and wearing nose masks, is key in safeguarding the health of students. Constant monitoring should be done to ensure compliance throughout the examinations.
From Makimbo Festus, although the disruptions caused by COVID-19 may have affected students' confidence and preparedness for WAEC and NECO examinations, the students will still do well if they are properly supported and supervised. Federal government has taken the right decision to reopen schools for students to take WAEC and NECO exams. There must be measures in place to create safe environments within the schools so that the students can concentrate on the revisions and the examinations.
Okay, and Isaac Amana John says, how on earth will school activities that are supposed to be carried out for 3 months be done in just 1 week? I'm sorry for the future of our education. And there are quite a number of tweets that have come in. Unfortunately, we can't take all of them. Dele Jack Solomon, Law Alpha C, Solomon Kenya J, Nwogugu Ikechuku, Sevenos, and of course Kachi and Ahmed Mustafa. We received your tweets. Unfortunately, we cannot take all of them. We've run out of time. Yeah. But we do want to appreciate all of you for your tweets, and do keep them coming. Same time next week, we'll be here tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we're going to be here again. Yes. But for now, no, you don't have time to say anything, honestly, because there's no time for us to do that. We would rather appreciate you for coming, okay, Udemba? Appreciate you for coming on this program. We have heard your views on behalf of parents, and all you said are indeed apt. Okay, Udemba, PTA chairman, thank you for coming on the program. And of course, we'd also like to appreciate Professor Godswill Obioma, Registrar, Chief Executive Officer, National Examination Council. We thank you for coming. I'm not sure you are expecting good results after this NECO this time around. I'm not sure, and we also like to thank one of our guests, that's
the head of
the National Office of West African Examination Council, Patrick Orehan. He reached us from Lagos. We thank you indeed for being part of the program. Well, that's how we conclude today's edition of the program. My name is Kiran Umayo. Thank you for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.
I'm Claire Delabu Abdulrazak. Bye-bye.